and then hired 2 other defense attorneys who both had to drop out. So this is number 4, number 5. So Donna is competing here with Sarah Boone.
Take time. You want some more water? You think you might be able to use the rest? You think that might help?
Go ahead and tell them to have EMS route check out.
Alright.
We're gonna have a check out.
Alright.
While Donna Adelson sits in a one-woman cell for 23 hours a day, constantly incriminating herself on electronic devices in anticipation for her upcoming trial, that pesky phone call with her and her son Charlie keeps coming back to haunt her. Not only were her and Harvey's vacation plans to Vietnam intercepted by the law, but she misses her Miami penthouse too. Now, Donna has to convince everyone this was just one big misunderstanding. Let's head to court.
And you remember receiving the call from Charlie?
Yes, of course.
And where was Charlie at the time?
So he was in a room by himself. It was after the conviction.
Was he in the jail?
He was in jail.
Okay. What did you do when you saw that Charlie was calling?
Answered the phone?
And you heard the recording that we played earlier?
Yes.
And you agreed for your call with your son to be recorded, correct?
Yes.
As the call was happening, do you know at what point Charlie was no longer on the call?
No, only when because I was talking, and then all of a sudden I asked him something, and I said, "Charlie, do you hear me, Charlie?" And I said it a few times, and he didn't respond anymore. And I knew the call was over.
Now, in the course, during the time that your son was incarcerated in Leon County Jail, did that happen more than, was that a frequent occurrence?
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Okay. And would there be times when you didn't realize at first that he was no longer on the call?
Yes.
Where in your apartment were you when this happened?
So I was in my living room.
And you heard your voice on that first call number 562, when you repeated, "Charlie, Charlie, are you there?"
Right.
Did you believe the call had ended?
Yes.
And what would, in times prior to this, what would happen after that? What would you do when that would happen?
If he didn't respond anymore, that was it. The call was over.
What would you do with your phone? Call 30 in the morning, 3 phone call when your attorney. Now, you heard the recording. To consent to this call, press 1. Or recording of this call, press 1. Correct?
Correct.
You hung up the phone after those calls were over.
But I did.
Sidebar. Looks like Donna's gotten herself in a really tough position. Do you guys think she would have gotten caught if it wasn't for that call with Charlie? And do you think she regrets it yet? Or does she still think that she can get herself out of it? Well, as we gear up and rewind and review for Donna's trial, there have been some new developments. Donna has allegedly been caught on a few thousand wiretaps and more, discussing some really bad things, including possibly trying to harm her eldest son to prevent him from testifying. We'll find that out at trial. One of my people in the comments section, shout out to you guys, you have some really great comments, mentioned that whenever Donna was on the stand and if she was possibly lying, she bugged her eyes out really big. So we'll keep our eye on that and her blink rate too. But right now, let's listen to the gals over at Court TV explain the new developments in Donna's case.
That the defense is alleging that the state recorded conversations between Harvey and a jailhouse informant. They're alleging that the state is making up conversations because apparently the state is alleging that Donna's new attorneys that were entered after there was a prior conflict of counsel have been helping her to communicate with Harvey using their own cell phones and watches. And it is during one of those conversations, allegedly, that there was a discussion about a potential plot to harm their eldest son, Robert, who is estranged from the family.
Could help me with it. Daughter could help me with it. We've been looking it up over and over. It's extradition from Vietnam.
Now, this all allegedly started with Wendy, and the jury is still out on her involvement, but in the interrogation room, Wendy flat out implicated her parents and her brother Charlie. Let's take a look at this clip from Wendy's first interrogation, and you be the judge of who the real mastermind is.
Oh my god. Well, my parents sounded really surprised, so it's at least a relief. I was trying to think of who would be angry enough to do something to him. My parents would be angry, but they're not capable of this. Thank God. I really couldn't handle that right now. I really hope he didn't do this. Many social workers in my life. Jeff sounds crazy when I talk about him like this.
I don't think so.
I really hope he didn't do this.
Is there something that would make you feel like he would be capable of something? Because you said...
Who is capable of doing something like this? I don't know anyone that, like, I represent victims of trafficking, but, like, I don't know the traffickers. And, like, I don't spend time with them. And so in my mind, like, someone who's capable of, like, extinguishing a human life or, like, thinking someone else's life is less than theirs, like, I work with the victims who have been thought as less than human, but not with the people who think that's okay.
You can.
All right. All right, come on up. Watch your step getting on this van. Take your time. I got you. There you go. I got you. Step right there. There you go. Take your time.
Watch your head, man.
Watch your head, watch your step. That good? Yeah? All right. Wherever you sit.
Wherever you want to sit, man.
You got 8 seat belts on this van. Strap into any one of them. All right? I don't care which one you do it. Just make sure you strap into one. Pick any one. If it's that one, it's going to be on the other side. Look to your right. There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, that was just before noon on November 20th, 2023. Sitting in the back of one of those vans, it has to be really uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to it. Who would be? After 5 p.m., another deputy grabs his body-worn camera and goes to the back of the van. This is more than 5 hours later.
Okay. Out the cuffs. Out of cuffs. The cuffs aren't tight, are they? No. All right. Let's do this right here. Loosen up cuffs.
Try to. Oops, okay. All right. Take your time.
Got it.
Let's see if this will help out a little bit.
I got you.
Take your time. Take time. You want some more water? You think you might be able to use the rest? You think that might help?
Go ahead and tell them to have EMS from out check out.
Alright.
We're gonna have a check out.
Alright.
We're gonna have EMS come and check you out. Okay, Ms. Adelson. Yes, ma'am. I don't want nothing to happen to you. I want to make sure you're all right. I don't know what's going on right now. Are you familiar? Have you ever felt like this before, ma'am? This is just an uncomfortable ride.
Communicate, but I'm calling, answer.
Okay. Space on your ankles right there. What exactly are you feeling?
My hands are like frozen in this position.
Yeah, well, you say they're frozen, but, yeah, but they're extremely warm.
I don't mean like the position.
Yeah.
Not the temperature.
Okay, not the temperature. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure. Well, we call it EMS. We're going to get you checked out and find out what's going on. Right. Think if we step outside, that'll help? You don't know? Okay. All right. You sting your leg out? Is that a possible? Okay. Like this. Yeah. We'll have the EMS come. You might be having some anxiety right now.
Come on. Take your time coming out the van. Watch your step. Watch your head. Make sure you step on the. There you go. All right. Good. Just go with sides. Just hold on the side. Good.
Donna's last ride was a very long one. 7 hours to Leon County. Can you imagine what was going through her mind during that time? And as you see, Donna had to be taken to the hospital after the ride. I think reality is starting to set in at this time. Meanwhile, evidence against her is piling up.
Occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markel, "Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid." When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
you don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
My child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markel in front of the former wife, "Abba, Grandma says she hates you." The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markel is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation. Is that what he was alleging about your mom?
That is what he is alleging in this document, yes.
And this was filed in court?
He filed this in court.
On what date?
It will be at the front of the document, right?
Yes, ma'am, page 441.
This was filed on March 26th, 2014.
And this was the filing that never got ruled on, right?
I don't believe there was any ruling on this.
And that's because Dan Markel was killed before the hearing, right?
I don't know when it was scheduled for.
It wasn't even scheduled yet.
Okay.
It was waiting to be scheduled when he was killed. Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion. And as I mentioned before, Danny asked my mom to babysit after filing this motion, so I don't really believe anything that's written here.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother.
I don't believe I did.
Via email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom, Jeffrey Lacoste, Renee Griggs, Tova Walsh, Morgan Honeycutt, Gary Cohen, Miguel Edmondson, Trey Hubler, Robert Adelson, Rachel Frank, Jared Reich, and some MEHULNYC at yahoo.com. So if you weren't worried about this, why'd you send it to all these people?
I couldn't really say. It's been a long time.
And then a couple days later, we know what happened.
So this was in March. So a couple days, I sent it to people in July when Danny was killed.
You sent it a couple days later.
I sent
that email to 12 different people.
In March.
Yes.
That's I was in Tallahassee. He was in South Florida.
Did he work a lot?
He worked a lot, yeah.
And did he work at one location or travel around?
He would travel around. He worked at multiple locations.
Was he pretty successful in his job?
Yeah, he came up with a great business model for what he did, and he worked really hard and was very successful.
Was your brother known to carry a lot of cash?
I mean, he had cash on him sometimes. I never saw large sums of cash.
Did you ever see stapled cash?
I never saw stapled cash.
Green Man wrote, I can't help but like Luis Rivera. I know, but he has been telling the truth since he was arrested and found out the real story, and doing this even though it puts his life at constant risk. He was a kid whose life fell so badly between the cracks of normal society that he never got any schooling, and when he was arrested, he was almost completely unable to read and write, which meant his work opportunities were pretty limited. He drove the car, but he hadn't been told the real story, nor for that matter had been the gunman. Lewis's trial testimony was so straightforward and honest. It was refreshing and often funny. as was watching him stare down Chuckles. Yes. I especially like the things that were revealed by his testimony. In particular, about his relationship with his partner. I'm not saying girlfriend. I hate that expression. She wasn't a girl nor his friend. When he was testifying at Charlie's trial, he said that when Katie Magbanois texted him to say that she was going to his place with the money, he raced to get there as fast as he could because he knew that otherwise his partner would take the money and he wouldn't get any of it. I remember that. Lewis did seem pretty straightforward with his testimony, because if she felt comfortable about taking the money that Lewis earned and not giving any of it to him, it meant that she had no concerns about Lewis demanding it back in any frightening way. No threats, no violence, which, amongst other things, also means that this, quote, violent Latin king, quote, gangster, treated his partner much better than Charlie Adelson treated any woman, because Charlie, the, quote, man, dressed up for the trial with a look he hated, engaged in bad acts to show his girlfriend of the moment when, quote, she was asking for it, which usually meant if he did something stupid and got himself in trouble, and then he'd blame it on whatever woman he was with. So he'd do something which I won't describe, but it was done on purpose to hurt her while they were being intimate. We also know that Charlie, who was very open about his, quote, taste for women with girls in their early teens, would go on holiday to Southeast Asia or South America several times a year because he was able to, quote, satisfy his interest in those places at a very low cost. That's an Adelson, always looking to save money, and be subhuman scum at one and the same time. We know these things because the very first and only time poor Jeffrey Lacoste met Charlie, Charlie sat in the hot tub in his place with his sister, Wendy, and Mr. Lacoste, who he had just met, and told them both about how he'd hurt a previous girlfriend, a young Korean woman, in the way I will not detail here, and how much he'd enjoyed buying girls, young teen girls, for bad things. When he'd been in the Philippines recently, Wendy, whose legal expertise and job was supposed to be fighting for the bad things happening of young women, chuckled and gawked with laughter as Charlie told his funny stories about hurting children abroad. Again. There are a lot of plot twists and turns in the Adelson files, and it seems as if Luis would never have told the truth. Essentially, we would have no idea how deep the Adelsons were involved in Dan Markel's demise. What are your thoughts about that? Sigfredo decided he wasn't going to tell. Catherine decided she wasn't going to tell. She even turned down a sweetheart deal and ended up getting life. I'd really love to know your thoughts on this case as we gear up in preparation for Donna Adelson's trial. Leave your thoughts below. Thanks, and see you next episode. Bye.